This little girl named Ji-yoon plays with a bunny, but her mother is worried when she looks at her because she can see no bunny. But not seeing something does not mean it is not there. One day, the mother dies suddenly in an accident, but when the daughter returns home to eat her birthday cake, her mother is waiting for her. The girl can't wait to make a wish, but at some point, she realizes that the mood is much heavier than it is supposed to be. As it appears, the girl has been seeing the ghost of her mother instead of her real mom. The two of them burst into tears when they realize that they can't be together any longer. Before the mother disappears, she asks her daughter to take care of herself. With that said, the ghost is gone, and Ji-yoon starts crying when she comprehends that she is going to be alone in life. The girl walks outside the house, but a mysterious man appears out of nowhere. This man is named Wang, but he is not a mere mortal. He is the Grim Reaper, the creature that sends the souls of the previously alive humans to their next destination. When the Grim Reaper sees the girl, he proclaims that the girl is not supposed to be alive. He recalls that he tried to kill her mother in the past while she was pregnant. Don't misunderstand the guy. It's just his divine job. He has to kill people when their number is up. When he tried to kill the girl's mother, another powerful creature appeared, an immortal goblin named Kim Shin, and saved the woman. Back in the present, an all-knowing grandma appears and she warns the Reaper to stay back. The Grim Reaper tells her to move because he has to do his job, but the grandma asks to see the papers, meaning the papers that prove this is the girl's time and he has to take her. The Grim Reaper does not have any such papers, so he decides to go away for the moment, even though he tells the girl that he will be seeing her again. As the years go by, Ji-yoon becomes a lonely girl, and the other students think there is something off with her. One day as she leaves school, she walks down an alley and a ghost follows her. Ji-yoon tries to ignore ghosts because she wants to live a normal life, but this female ghost knows she can see them and jumps in front of her to scare her. However, she is scared when she sees Kim Shin coming from the other end of the alley, and she asks the girl if she is the goblin's wife. When the two of them cross paths, the goblin realizes that this girl is special. A flashback is triggered and we now learn the goblin's story. Kim Shin was an army general who attended war after war because he loved his country and wanted to protect it. After a successful battle, he and his men returned to the palace, but the emperor was waiting for him with an unpleasant surprise. The young emperor claimed that Kim Shin was plotting against him and wanted him dead, which was not true at all. He ordered his soldiers to kill Kim Shin's men and his sister. Then, they also killed Kim Shin himself. However, the Almighty God had another plan for him. The Almighty believed that Kim Shin had to be punished because he had killed many people with his blade, so he cursed him with the gift of being immortal. Kim Shin would live forever and watch the people he loves dying. The only way to redeem himself would be to find the goblin's wife, who will be able to pull the sword from his body. Kim Shin has walked this planet for many years, but maybe it's time for him to leave. Or maybe not. Back in the present, we see that Ji-yoon lives with a family where the wise grandma had sent her in order to be away from the Reaper. Although she is still alive, she is not having a good time with this family because all of its members are twisted. When she wakes up to go to school, the woman asks her about her bank account books, but Ji-yoon reminds her that she took her. In addition, she went to the girl's house in the past and took all the money she found there. While they disagree, the woman throws a bowl on her head, depicting what a terrible person she is. Later that day, Ji-yoon goes near the shore with a birthday cake and wishes to find some meaning in her life. The goblin is attracted to that wish and he walks through a dimensional gate to get near the girl. Kim Shin asks her how she was able to call him, but the girl has no idea. Ji-yoon knows that this man is not just any man, so she wants to make some wishes. Despite her enthusiasm, Kim Shin tells her that this is not how it works and he can't become her genie. The goblin leaves for the moment, but there is something peculiar about Ji-yoon because she can call him any time she wants now. Kim Shin tries to avoid her until he understands what's going on, but the girl holds onto him and tells him that she is the goblin's wife. Kim Shin is surprised to hear that, but he soon realizes that the girl has no idea what she is talking about. In fact, Ji-yoon only said that because she heard it from that female ghost the other day. With all the talking she does, Kim Shin decides to give her a taste of his powers. The girl wishes to go to Canada, so the goblin just takes her there for a few seconds. When she asks to become rich, the goblin tells her to just look for a job and she will find one very soon. Later, Ji-yoon enters the bathroom of a store and meets a woman in a red dress. The woman acts bossy and she gives Ji-yoon some edible plants to make sushi that night. When the girl returns home, she has yet another confrontation with her foster family, but when they try the sushi she made, they all get several weird symptoms. Ji-yoon eats the remaining sushi herself, but she is just fine. In the meantime, Kim Shin has a hard time sleeping because he can't stop thinking about the girl. He decides to teleport and spend some time with the girl because he feels her sadness. When he returns home, he finds a surprise waiting for him. His nephew, Yoo Deok, has rented part of their mansion to the Grim Reaper. Kim Shin does not like that, so the nephew leaves them to resolve the details on their own. The Reaper presents Kim Shin with the contract, but the Goblin just burns it. However, the Reaper has another copy of it, so no harm is done there. The two of them are forced to live in the same house now, and soon they face each other again at the dinner table. They kind of act like kids and use their superpowers to throw objects around and mess with each other's food. At the same time, Ji-yoon is feeling a bit lonely, so she decides to light a match and make a wish. As Kim Shin is getting ready to bite his sausage, he finds himself near Ji-yoon. Meanwhile, the Reaper is trying to get some sleep, but the Goblin wants to drive him out of this house, so he makes his night difficult by posing as a male model, showing him some paintings, and, basically, doing any kind of nonsense he can think of. The next day, Kim Shin sees the Reaper gathering his laundry in a box and believes that he is finally leaving the house, but he is not that lucky. He should try harder. That night, Ji-yoon lights a candle again and she wishes to see Kim Shin. When she turns her head around, she sees the Reaper staring at her, but thankfully, Kim Shin appears as well. Ji-yoon funnily tries to shut his eyes, but these men already know each other. The Reaper exclaims that the girl is not supposed to be alive, and at that moment, lightings start going crazy. But this is not the weather. The Goblin is so powerful that his mood can affect the weather conditions. The Reaper knows this and understands that Kim Shin is really mad, even though his face looks calm. Ji-yoon tries to pull the Goblin away, but Kim Shin stands his ground, warning the Reaper not to harm this girl. On the other hand, the Reaper claims that there are rules they need to follow. In any case, it seems like they are not going to resolve their issues today as the Reaper walks away. The next day, two gangsters visit Ji-yoon's mom and ask for the money she owes them. The woman lies to them, saying that she was about to pay them, but her foster daughter stole her bank books. The two gangsters are thirsty to get their money, so they decide to abduct Ji-yoon. The girl tries to explain to them that her foster mom lied, but the gangsters are not hearing any of it. When one of them tries to light a cigarette, Ji-yoon uses that as an opportunity to blow the flame and make a wish. As she struggles with the other gangster, a mark on her back is also activated. The lights go dark across the road and the Goblin appears along with the Reaper walking toward the stopped car. The gangsters try to run them over, but Kim Shin cuts the car in half using his blade. Then, the Reaper approaches the two gangsters and induces them into some kind of trance in order to tell them what they should do. He tells them that they had a big fight. The accident was caused by that exact fight. Even though they are going to survive, the two of them will never reconcile. After these incidents, Ji-yoon finds a job in the store of a woman named Sunny. Gradually, she spends more and more time with Kim Shin. When she gets the chance, she asks the Goblin about the sword he used to cut that car in half. Kim Shin says that he did not use a sword to provoke the girl, but Ji-yoon says she can see it. Indeed, Kim Shin is trapped with a sword in his chest. This is the same sword that he was killed with, but also the same sword he killed many of his enemies in battle. If he finds the Goblin's wife and she pulls the sword out of him, he will finally be free from his immortality. However, the Goblin does not reveal these details to her just yet. The next morning, the Reaper walks across a bridge and stops when he sees the woman in red, who is just standing there selling some items. The woman shows him a few items, but she actually uses a mirror to guide his look at the place she wants him to look. The Reaper sees a green ring and he takes a close look at it, almost shoving his face on it. All of a sudden, Sunny appears by his side and grabs the ring because she likes it and she wants to buy it. The Reaper does not utter a single word while a tear runs down his cheek. Sunny notices him and comments that this is a strange reaction for missing a ring. She tells him he can have it, but she wants something in return. She wants him to call her so they can go on a date. After clarifying that, Sunny gives him the ring along with her phone number. Meanwhile, Kim Shin stares at a portrait of the woman who was killed the same day as him, which is proved to be Sunny. That night, the Reaper stares at Sunny's phone number. We see the mark of her lips on the paper, and the Reaper recalls that Sunny kissed the letter when she gave him her phone number earlier. The next day, the protagonists see the woman in red on TV, which makes her presence even more mysterious. As the days go by, the Reaper is troubled with his flirting situation. He has been dead for a long time and he has no idea how to act now. He considers giving Sunny a call, but he just can't get himself to do it. He even talks to Yoo Deok about it, but the young man is unable to convince him to make the call. The Reaper thinks about Sunny so much that he even imagines a world full of several versions of Sunny. Meanwhile, Sunny has been thinking about him as well. One day, she decides to stand on the bridge until she meets him. As soon as she sees him, Sunny scolds him for not giving her a call, and the two of them proceed to grab some coffee together. The Reaper is not very good at seduction, so he mostly keeps his head down and sips on his drink. Sunny wants to get the conversation started and asks him several questions, but the Reaper replies with just a few words. Sunny mentions that she doesn't even know his name, but the Reaper can't help her with that because he can't remember his name. When he returns home, he takes a sit next to the Goblin, who makes his own fantasies about Ji-hoon and himself. In the meantime, the girl uses a candle to wish to see him, and the Goblin teleports near her. While the two of them stroll around the city, Ji-hoon wants him to grant her a wish, which is to find a boyfriend. Kim Shin remains silent at that request, but the two of them spend more time together and the Goblin takes her to several places. While they play around and the Goblin pays more attention to her, he feels like his passion for life is rekindled. Later, Ji-hoon is walking across the street when her headphones start giving her some static noise. She removes her headphones and realizes that a female ghost is approaching her. She tries to avoid it, but the ghost tells her that she just needs her help with a simple task. She died today and her mother has not visited the house she rented yet. She wants Ji-hoon to go there and just fill the fridge with stuff. Her mother will be happy to see this because she always told her to look after herself. Ji-hoon decides to help the ghost. She visits her apartment, organizes it, and feels the fridge. Later, the ghost's mother visits the place and everything is organized. The ghost is moved to see her mother crying, but now she can move on without any regrets. Then, Kim Shin visits Ji-hoon and she complains to him that he did not fulfill her wish about getting a boyfriend. The Goblin says he is her boyfriend, but Ji-hoon doesn't feel like it, so she wants him to prove it by allowing her to move into his house. Kim Shin agrees and takes her to the house, where they find the Grim Reaper taking the trash out. When they show the girl around, she tells them she wants to stay in Kim Shin's room, so the Goblin gets his stuff and proceeds to sleep in the Reaper's room. Before they sleep, the two immortal beings have a talk about God. The Goblin says he saw God when he died and God was just a butterfly. The next morning, the three of them have breakfast together. The Reaper and the Goblin get involved in a funny confrontation and they use their mental capacities to control two knives. Ji-hoon interrupts them and writes some rules they have to follow around the kitchen. Later, Yoo-deok buys two smartphones for his uncle and the Reaper. Kim Shin tries to figure out how he can video call others, while Wang writes Sunny's phone number and saves it as a contact. Ji-hoon comes up with a new strategy to get closer to Kim Shin, making him jealous. When she gets in the living room, she starts folding some towels with the Reaper and pretends that she is having a great time. As they do, the Reaper asks her if she knows any male names that women like. The Goblin notices them having fun and gets jealous. He grabs a Renaissance painting and starts narrating its true story, hoping to impress Ji-hoon. However, nobody cares about what he's saying. The Goblin and Ji-hoon end up screaming at one another because the girl can't understand his weird behavior. As for the Reaper, he is still struggling to make up his mind. Should he call Sunny or not? The answer to that will come the next morning when the Goblin gets the phone out of his hands and calls Sunny. The Reaper is not ready, but Kim Shin sticks the phone on his ear. Wang knocks it out of the Goblin's hands, and he stops time. The flames burning on the candles freeze and the clock stops. The Reaper walks to his phone, which is floating in the air, and rehearses several ways to talk to Sunny. The Goblin is not frozen like everything else and tells the Reaper that he is ready to do this. After restoring time to normal, the Reaper makes the phone call and arranges to meet Sunny. Yoo-deok accompanies him to make things less awkward, but he sabotages the Reaper because he gets all the attention. The Reaper decides to take action and tells Yoo-deok to get up and leave. Then, he tells Sunny's friend the same thing. Finally, he tells Sunny to forget what he just said. In the meantime, Kim Shin and Ji-hoon are inside the house and they decide to do something fun. The Goblin teleports her to Quebec in Canada and they visit a restaurant. As soon as they enter, the Goblin has a vision and he sees Ji-hoon being older. She is talking to somebody on the phone while she also sees somebody approaching her table. She calls this person President. The Goblin sits down as he comments that Ji-hoon is going to live well after his death. A tear runs down the Goblin's cheek while he considers how he is going to disappear from her life. The next day, Ji-yoon wants to have a talk with him and reveals that she did some research on him. Although she was not able to find much, she associates him with a general who lived almost 1,000 years ago. The Goblin admits that she is right and tells her that back then, everybody was trying to survive. He was forced to kill many people, and that's why God punished him with the curse of being immortal. Ji-yoon asks him not to think about immortality as a curse because he is so powerful that he has assisted many people. The two of them spend more and more time together. The Goblin realizes that the woman who is supposed to pull the sword and kill him is the same person who makes him feel like he wants to live. In any case, he knows that he has to die if he wants to be free. The Goblin buys some gifts for Ji-yoon and tells her that it is time for her to remove the sword. However, the girl has no idea that he is going to die. The Goblin takes her to a beautiful field of flowers and is ready to have the sword pulled. But Ji-yoon wants him to sign a contract with some terms. One of those terms is that she will pull the sword when it snows for the first time this year. But that's not hard for the Goblin to do, so he manipulates the weather to make it snow. Ji-yoon has to comply with her own terms and she prepares to pull the sword. She tries to grab it, but her hands slip right through it. She tries once more, but the result is just the same. Ji-yoon reminds the Goblin that he told her it would not be her fault if something went wrong. She approaches him in a playful way, and the two of them kiss for the first time. The next morning, Ji-yoon goes to college and sees a bunch of guys playing baseball. At some point, a ball travels toward her and is about to hit her head. But one of the baseball players grabs the ball before this happens. Ji-yoon is impressed when she sees this guy. However, she is not just impressed because he is handsome, but because the two of them have known each other since primary school. They spend a couple of moments catching up, and the baseball player, Tae-hee, plays with her hair just like he played with it when they were kids. The thing is, the Goblin is watching them and he feels jealous when he sees Tae-hee doing this. His jealousy reflects on the weather, and the Goblin discusses the matter with the Reaper when he returns home. The Reaper asks him to relax because he is overreacting, but the Goblin makes another move the next morning. He hits the locker room of the baseball team and starts asking around about Tae-hee. When the young man appears, he proclaims that he knows Kim Shin. He also comments that he has not aged at all. A flashback takes us back in time to a random meeting between these two. They were in a playground and they were hitting some baseballs, which means that Tae-hee loved the sport from a young age. On the other hand, the Goblin was not very good at the sport. The boy noticed this and told the Goblin that he had to sway his hips another way. Following the kid's advice, Kim Shin was able to hit several balls. Back in the present, the Goblin tries to figure out how to deal with these new emotions. Even though he has lived for thousands of years, he has never felt this way before. She tries to call Ji-yoon, but the girl tells him she is busy and hangs up, which makes him even more jealous. What if she is with Tae-hee? The Goblin decides to investigate and he corners the ghosts that lurk around his girlfriend. The ghosts give him all the information he needs, and the Goblin finds Ji-yoon singing at an audition. Needless to say, she is very good. Right after, the two of them walk toward home and the Goblin's emotions about the girl keep growing. When they hug, Kim Shin starts experiencing tremendous pain, as if the sword is hurting him. Ji-yoon sees the sword and realizes that now she can grab it. She grabs the sword's handle with her arms, and she gradually pulls it out. That causes the Goblin some pain, but he also knows that he is going to die if she pulls it out. Instinctively, Kim Shin pushes Ji-yoon and sends her flying in the air. He teleports himself behind her in order to save her, and they crash on a large truck, which unleashes a massive wave of energy. Several cars absorb the impact of this energy wave, and the place turns into a mess. Kim Shin takes her back home and apologizes to her about what happened. Ji-yoon forgives him and tells him that she is going to be fine. She cares about him, and the only thing she was trying to do was to help him because she thought the sword was hurting him. That night, the Goblin sees a strange vision. In his vision, he drops Ji-yoon off at the bus station and she enters the bus. In the meantime, a thief speeds with his bicycle, but he slips and ends up in the middle of the road. A car hits the robber and sends him flying in the air. A bigger accident is caused and the bus carrying Ji-yoon along with other passengers is flipped over, resulting in 22 people dying. Miraculously, his vision starts unfolding right the next morning. The Goblin drops Ji-yoon to the bus station and then hurries to buy all of the socks from a merchant because that's the stand which will cause the thief to slip with his bike. To make sure that nothing bad is going to happen, Kim Shin intercepts the thief on his own. The thief tries to intimidate him and pulls his knife out, but the Goblin uses his powers to twist the robber's hand and make him drop the knife. As he does, the bus drives right next to them safely. In the meantime, the Reaper and his Reaper students have been waiting for the bus because they have a big list of names they are supposed to harvest. However, the bus arrives safely at its destination. The Reaper sees Ji-yoon inside the bus and suspects that the Goblin has something to do with this. Indeed, the Goblin appears and gives him a funny look, indicating that they are not going to get any victims from this incident. Later, Yu-deok accidentally shows the Reaper a portrait of the Goblin's sister, which makes Wang cry. The Reaper holds his heart while he cries because he has no memories of his past lives. However, he is able to feel strong emotions for this particular woman. Yu-deok informs his uncle about this, and the Goblin proceeds to ask Wang. The Reaper replies that he has no idea what is going on because he has no memories. Then, he goes out on a date with Sunny and apologizes to her for not having a business card, something that she had asked of him during their previous date. While they are on their date, the Goblin is writing a scroll. On the scroll, he writes the name Wang. While this is happening, the Reaper is hurting, so he decides to induce Sunny in a trance and tells her to forget they met tonight. Later, the Goblin meets with the woman in red, whom we've seen several times. In reality, this woman is God. She tells Kim Shin that he needs to die or else the girl is going to die soon. She is a special case, which means she was not supposed to be born. If Kim Shin does not die, then the girl will have to die. Several incidents will happen around her, increasing in intensity and frequency until she is dead. At the same time, Ji-yoon is asking Wang what will really happen if she pulls the sword out of her boyfriend's body, so the Reaper reveals the truth. He tells her that he is going to die. The girl exclaims that she can't kill her boyfriend, but things here are a bit more complicated than that because the Goblin supposedly wants to die to be liberated. Ji-yoon decides to get a job in another city far away from Kim Shin, but soon an accident happens while she closes up the store she works in. It seems like the universe is hunting her down. In the meantime, Wang tells the Goblin that he has received one of his special cards with Ji-yoon's name written on it. The names of the people on these particular cards signal that the person has to die. The Goblin tries to use his powers to find Ji-yoon while his mind is busy with the thoughts of the meeting he had with God. Eventually, Kim Shin finds his girlfriend and takes her back home. He even brings about 10 doctors to make sure she is fine. Then, the two of them spend some time together in an Arctic scenery and Ji-yoon agrees not to run away again. When they are back in the city again, they arrange something like a double date with Sunny and the Reaper. The dinner is a bit awkward. The Goblin tries to break the silence, but everything he says makes Sunny angry. As for the Reaper, he doesn't say much, which makes Sunny angrier. When the Reaper asks to get 2 beers, Sunny takes him outside for a talk. While they converse, the Reaper says her real name, and Sunny wonders how he knows it since she never told him her real name. The Reaper knows her full name from their previous date when he was feeling pain and ordered Sunny to forget they met. Sunny has him against the corner, and the Reaper turns around to leave, but the woman grabs his hand to hold him in place. The sensation of her touch awakens some strange emotions inside the Reaper, who sees a vision of Kim Shin's sister from 1,000 years ago. Later, the Reaper contemplates the event. He recalls that he started crying when he saw Sunny for the first time, and he also started crying when he saw the scroll depicting Kim Shin's sister. Could Sunny be a reincarnation of the Goblin's sister? But even if that's the case, why would the Reaper cry for this woman? When the Reaper meets with Sunny again, he asks to borrow the ring for a couple of days because he needs to do some research. Sunny wants to know what this research is about, but the Reaper tells her that he will explain soon. Sunny gives him the ring and Wang asks her to grab his hand again. However, this time Sunny plays games with him and refuses to take his hand. When the Reaper hangs out with the Goblin again, they discuss about her. The Reaper wonders if Sunny could be a reincarnation of the Goblin's sister. Kim Shin recalls his sister's death and declares that Sunny could be his sister because that would not be against any cosmic rule. He remembers when he saw Sunny for the first time and how he felt a strange sensation about her. When the Goblin sees her again, he runs to hug Sunny and actually tells her that he is her brother. Sunny can't believe any of that, and Wang pulls the Goblin back. Eventually, Sunny kicks them both out of her place. Over the following days, Kim Shin is very close to Sunny and he buys her various gifts. However, Sunny does not like anything he buys for her because her taste is different. The Goblin relies on what his sister used to like 1,000 years ago, but today's Sunny is a completely different person. Since Sunny does not believe him, the Goblin takes her back home to show her the scroll. The Goblin narrates their story in more detail. 1,000 years ago, he was a warrior. He fought against barbarians to keep his country safe. But the king of the country was young and his mind was poisoned by one of his advisors. The advisor convinced him that the people loved Kim Shin more than him each time he returned victorious from battle. The king was in love with his sister, but he still told her that she had to pick sides. She would either be with the king or her brother. She could not be an ally to both of them. Although Sunny feels strange about these revelations, this is too much to believe. That night, the Reaper visits her store and drops the ring on the table when Sunny comes in. He decides to become invisible and observes Sunny while she moves around the store. Sunny prepares to leave, but she comes back at the last minute. She weaves her hand and is able to hit the Reaper, who now becomes visible. Sunny is surprised, but also realizes that there is more to this world than human perception can catch. Later, Wang shows another card to Kim Shin, but the Goblin can see nothing. This is yet another one of those special cards, and it's natural for the Goblin to be unable to see the name written on it, because these cards are only meant to be seen by the Reaper. In any case, Wang lets him know that Ji-Eun's name is written on it, which means that they have to be careful. The Goblin recalls once more the conversation he had with God and believes that he should tell Ji-Eun about it. The Goblin sits her down and tells her the truth about everything. The universe is out to get Ji-Eun because the two of them can't coexist. One of them has to die. If the Goblin does not die, then Ji-Eun will face death by defeat. Everything bad that has happened to her till now has been a part of this rule. Naturally, Ji-Eun starts crying when she hears that she can't be with her boyfriend. She tries to come up with several plans, but none of them is efficient because the best case scenario would be for both of them to stay alive. The next morning, Ji-Eun is approached by two of the ghosts following her. One of them tells her that she was killed by her husband and she will not be able to move on unless she gets some closure. That night, Ji-Eun follows the ghost's instructions and finds the husband. She asks to have a private conversation with him outside the office, and their discussion reveals that the man is a bad person. But the more details the ghost tells Ji-Eun, the more the man wants to kill the girl. Since she knows the truth about him, it's better to get rid of her. At that moment, Ji-Eun lights a lighter and then blows it, wishing for the Goblin to appear. The Goblin hears her wish and appears to save her. After teaching the man a lesson, the Goblin drops him off in front of a police station and orders him to give himself in. When Ji-Eun returns to work, she has an unexpected visit from a ghost. However, this is not just any ghost. This is Jung Hyun, the king's advisor from 1,000 years ago. Jung Hyun extends his arm to grab the girl, but Ji-Eun pretends she is not intimidated by him and asks all the present ghosts to leave because she has to work. The next day, Yu Deok meets with the woman in red and it is revealed that he is God. He waits for Kim Shin and the Reaper at a nightclub, but creates an energy field around him so they can't approach him. God begins with Kim Shin, telling him that he allowed him to meet the Goblin's bride because he wants to give him the chance to die. Nonetheless, the Goblin is wasting this opportunity. Then, he addresses the Reaper and tells him that he has to decide what he wants. Does he want to know the full story of his past, or does he prefer to allow the past to stay buried? After scolding them both, God leaves Yu Deok's body in the form of dozens of butterflies, revealing that Yu Deok is not God but he was rather possessed by him. Meanwhile, Jung Hyun visits Ji-Eun again, but this time he decides to make a huge revelation. He tells the girl that the Reaper is the Goblin's fatal enemy. Today they are living together as if nothing happened in the past because they have no idea. But Wang killed the Goblin's sister along with everyone else he loved. Ji-Eun is shocked to hear this and meets with Wang to ask him about it. The Reaper admits that he was the king 1,000 years ago, although he can't remember all the details vividly. The Reaper meets with Sunny next and kisses her, which triggers his memories to return to him. Now, he is able to recall that he gave the green ring to Kim Shin's sister in order to make her his queen, and asked her to betray her brother. Sunny gets the same memories and both of them are devastated. Considering that Sunny might not want to see him again, the Reaper asks her to be safe and wishes her to find a happy ending. The next morning, Sunny also meets with Kim Shin and apologizes to him because she was unable to protect him. They embrace one another as they come to terms with their past mistakes. Soon, Kim Shin learns about Jung Hyun and manages to find him. The ghost speaks a lot and the Goblin comments that speaking is the only thing Jung Hyun can do. Kim Shin uses his sword to terminate the ghost, but the blade passes right through him. Jung Hyun is happy to stay alive and comments that this sword can't kill him because it is made of water. Right next, Kim Shin meets with Wang and grabs him by his throat. Wang proclaims that he remembers everything, and he asks the Goblin to kill him. On the other hand, Kim Shin tells him that he deserves to get his memories back and be tortured by them. Killing him would be the easy way out. Then, the Goblin asks Ji-yoon to prepare her stuff because this house is not safe for her anymore. Elsewhere, the Reaper also has a meeting with Jung-hyun. As it appears, the Reaper has been looking for this ghost for 20 years. Although Wang grabs his former advisor by his throat, the ghost is able to escape. The next morning, Ji-yoon meets with Sunny, who tells her that she needs to stop seeing Wang even though she likes him a lot. At the same time, Wang is visited by two immortal beings from the Reaper's investigation department. The men blame Wang for using his power in ways that are not appropriate and intervene with the universal balance. Therefore, they have come here to punish him. The men give him full access to his memories in order to make him suffer. As it is explained, only people who commit terrible sins become Reapers. The flashback now shows us how Wang's story continued after he killed Kim Shin and his sister. The king was feeling lots of pain and decided to commit the unthinkable. That same night, Jung-hyun decides to attack Sunny and Ji-yoon, but the young woman puts her body on the way. The marking she has on the back side of her shoulder activates and pushes the ghost away. But after this incident, the marking disappears. As the time goes by, the characters try to make amends with their pasts. Sunny meets with Wang to give him the green ring, while Ji-yoon has a good time with her boyfriend. However, the good mood is ruined soon as Jung-hyun finds Ji-yoon alone and attacks her. The girl is almost killed, but she manages to light her lighter and blow it, wishing for the Goblin to appear. Kim Shin pushes the ghost back, but Ji-yoon grabs his blade and tries to impale herself with it. Kim Shin makes the blade disappear, but the girl explains to him that she has understood the ghost's plan. Despite her warning, it is too late and the ghost possesses the girl. Now, Jung-hyun has leverage on Kim Shin because he can stop the girl's heart. Using the girl's body, he grabs the sword and starts pulling it out of the Goblin. But then, the Reaper appears to turn the tables on the ghost. The previous time they met, the Reaper did not know the ghost's name, which is necessary for a Reaper in order to collect a soul. But now that Wang has gotten all of his memories back, he knows it. He calls Jung-hyun's name, and the spirit is pulled out of Ji-yoon. However, the Goblin keeps the girl's hands on the sword and he decides to pull it out. When the sword is pulled out, it turns into a sword of fire, which the Goblin uses to kill Jung-hyun. Wang watches his friend with tears in his eyes, because they both know that he is going to die now. Ji-yoon runs near him to hug her boyfriend, while Kim Shin tries to calm her down. He says that he will ask God to allow him to come back to life during the first snowfall of this year. When Kim Shin dies, everybody is affected by the aftermath of his extinction. Every memory of Kim Shin disappears from every person who has ever met him. Ji-yoon rushes to grab her notebook in order to write about her boyfriend in as much detail as she can, before she loses all memories of him. As for Kim Shin, his soul is transferred to a place of eternal snow. All he can do there is walk. Sometimes he even walks backwards in order to trace how many steps he has made. In that place, there is nothing the Goblin can do. He can only hope God will forgive his sins and allow him to go back to the woman he loves. Many years later, Ji-yoon is a grown woman and she works in a radio station. Sometimes, she reads her notebook trying to decode the words she has written in it. Other times, she touches a unique necklace she is wearing and tries to remember how she got it. Even in his resting place, Kim Shin still carries that page from the contract Ji-yoon had written about them. Soon, the conditions are just right for Kim Shin to return to Earth. Ji-yoon has her birthday and she blows a candle on her cake, making a wish while it snows. Kim Shin is pulled out of his resting place and he appears next to her. He talks to her, but Ji-yoon has no idea who he is. Regardless, Kim Shin tells her that he is glad she is fine. Of course, he is not going to give up and his plan is about to unfold. Then, he proceeds to see the rest of his friends and family members, but only the Reaper recognizes him because he is not human. The two of them spend some time together and the Reaper informs him about some new information he has uncovered. Apparently, there is a process to becoming a Reaper. Wang has been a Reaper for just 300 years even though the two of them died approximately during the same era. But the process for people who commit great sins also involves being tortured in hell for several years. After that period of torture is completed, a Reaper can choose if they want to lose their memories or not. Of course, most of the Reapers choose to lose their memories because they can't take any more torment. The next day, we get to spend some time with Ji-yoon inside her work environment within the radio station. There, we realize that her superior is a mean man and he makes her life hell. He enjoys yelling at his employees if they do not perform the tasks he gives them the way he wants them to. But suddenly, it starts snowing outside even though it is not the right season for that to happen. Ji-yoon walks outside and looks at the snow with amusement. She also sees Kim Shin, who is just standing there and staring at her. trying to give her a subtle clue about the kind of environment they used to enjoy together. Later, Ji-yoon spends some time in a cafeteria and works on her computer. When she sees the candle on the table, she decides to put its flame off and blows it. Right then, Kim Shin appears out of nowhere, which is unexplainable to her. As for Kim Shin, he is not rich anymore and asks the Reaper if they can find some gold to sell. The Reaper informs him that gold has serial numbers on it nowadays and it will be hard for him to get rich that way. But Kim Shin has a backup plan and he visits his company's former CEO and Yoo Deok. The thing is, none of them recognizes him. Kim Shin asks the current CEO to open the former CEO's will and read it. The current CEO does exactly that and the will states that the money produced by the company belongs to Kim Shin. However, he has to prove himself in case somebody tries to impersonate him. The way to prove himself is by emanating an energy wave around his body. Even though that sounds a bit absurd, Kim Shin shows his energy and the CEO is convinced this is the man the will is talking about. In the meantime, Ji-yoon's boss continues to be mean to her. Later, Ji-yoon spends some time at the library, but Kim Shin appears out of nowhere to keep her company. He is dedicated to showing her that the two of them know each other. But first, he has to take care of his girlfriend's work environment. Kim Shin buys the radio station and makes Ji-yoon the boss of her department. Then, Ji-yoon receives a letter from Canada, which prompts her to check on the notes she has written down in her own notebook. Ji-yoon can't make any sense of those notes, so she decides to travel to Canada and find out why that country is so important to Kim Shin. The woman also thinks about her passport. According to the note, she has been in Canada before, but she does not have a passport. This is the first time she is going to visit that country. Soon, Ji-yoon arrives in Canada and checks in a hotel. She has a brief talk with the clerk trying to figure out if the letter she received was indeed sent from this hotel. Although the hostess has no possible way of knowing who sent the letter, she tells Ji-yoon that the stamp on the letter represents their hotel. Therefore, this letter must have been sent from here. Later, Ji-yoon walks through the streets of Quebec in Canada, but a woman selling some jewelry stops her when she sees her necklace. Ji-yoon wonders how this woman knows her, but the designer replies that she does not know Ji-yoon. Instead, she knows the necklace she is wearing because it is custom made and she is the one who designed it. Indeed, a flashback shows us that Kim Shin had approached this woman with a design he made and asked her to create this necklace. As it appears, Kim Shin has had a plan all along since the time he had that vision of Ji-yoon sitting in a restaurant and waiting for a man she called president. Kim Shin makes his next move and teleports to Canada. Of course, he can't directly tell her that she is the Goblin's bride, so he tries to give her subtle clues to lead her there. For example, he takes her at a park where Ji-yoon can see those red leaves she used to like. Ji-yoon can't get her mind to stop thinking about the weird feelings she is experiencing inside. At some point, she sees Kim Shin waiting for her at a bench right outside her hotel room and approaches him to ask him if he is a stalker. Kim Shin convinces her that he is not and the two of them visit the restaurant they had visited in the past. While Ji-yoon is sitting at the table, she is on the phone with Sunny but soon tells her that she has to go. As soon as she realizes that Kim Shin is standing behind her, she turns around to say hi and calls him president. But why? That's because Kim Shin bought the radio station and it belongs to him now. The circle completes itself and the Goblin's vision comes true. In fact, we can conclude that Kim Shin had seen their entire future together, and that's why he knew what to do. He knew that Ji-yoon might pull the sword out of him, but if that happened, she would lose all of the memories she had of him. To deal with this situation, he came up with a plan to remind Ji-yoon who he is. During the following days, Ji-yoon starts having some weird glimpses of her past, which makes her suspect that not everything is as it appears to be. She even visits Kim Shin's grave and realizes that this man should be dead. But why is he not? Ji-yoon takes some time alone, but everything changes when she grabs her favorite leaf in her hands and remembers everything that has happened in the past. Ji-yoon knows that the Goblin is her boyfriend and she runs around the city to find him. At some point, she sees a candle and knows exactly what to do. Ji-yoon blows the candle, wishing for her boyfriend to appear. Kim Shin comes immediately and he grabs his girlfriend to kiss her. In the meantime, Sunny pretends to have lost all memories of the Reaper, but she can't cope with it anymore because Wang hangs around her. Sunny decides to have a talk with him and tells him the truth. However, they can't be together because of what he did in the past. Although she loves him, their fates should be separate, so Sunny tells him that she is going to leave the city and asks Wang not to follow her and not to look for her. As the years go by, Kim Shin with Ji-yoon live a happy life while Wang spends his days being miserable and alone. One day though, Wang receives a card with several children's names written on it, but as he randomly greets Ji-yoon on the road, the names of those children disappear from the cards. While she drives, Ji-yoon notices a truck heading straight onto the school bus. She knows that those kids will probably die if the two vehicles crash, so she decides to intercept the truck's way by placing her own car in its path. The truck hits her car and Ji-yoon dies. Wang has to do his job, but Ji-yoon asks him about something she's heard of, that humans have 4 lives. If this is true, how many more lives does she have to reincarnate? The Reaper replies that the rumors are true and Ji-yoon has only lived 1 life. Before he sends her off, the Goblin appears to greet his girlfriend goodbye. Before she crosses the door to the next plane of existence, Ji-yoon tells her boyfriend to wait for her because they might meet again. 30 more years go by and the Reaper receives some news. First, his sins have been paid off and now he can die. Second, Sunny has died. Wang does his job one last time and decides to cross the door with Sunny. The Goblin continues to live, hoping that God will give all of them a second chance to live happy lives. Fortunately, his wishes are heard and he sees that Wang and Sunny have been reincarnated as 2 actors who fall in love with one another. As for himself, Ji-yoon finally reincarnates and looks exactly as she looked during her previous lifetime. She meets with Kim Shin and she can remember everything because she never drank the tea that the Reaper offered her. With their pasts washed off and their sins forgiven, they are free to live a happy life.